I am basically just a colleague that a couple weeks ago, I had no idea what Jamboard was. And I did a PD training with John Mason and learned about Jamboard, and basically I've just been playing around with it for the past couple weeks. And I wanted to take some time just to show you what I've done and what I've learned about it, because I've learned so much. I really like it. There's definitely some great things about it, and there's definitely some drawbacks, which I'm going to point out to you. And I just wanted to take this PD, I don't have any kind of fancy PowerPoint or Google Slides or anything. I just want to show you what I've learned and what I've done and how you can get started too with it. So that's really what this is about. So I will try to answer questions as I go along, and any kind of techie things I can try to help out with, but I don't know if I can, but I'll do the best that I can. I just wanted to be here just more as just one of your colleagues, just showing you what I've done in hopes that it can help you and your math lessons too. So I'm just going to turn the screen and get you guys started. So as I'm presenting, just basically what Jamboard is, it is it's a virtual whiteboard. That's really all that it is, but it has some features where you can actually make it interactive. You can have the students collaborate, and you can actually treat it like a Google Doc or a Google Slides, where you can assign it to students, and you can have your entire class on one Jamboard and they can add to it. You can have individual Jamboards for each student, just like you do a Google Doc or a Google Slides, where they can edit it and then submit it like an assignment. So there's some of those capabilities with it that I think are really cool. So it's really just like anything with Google. You go up to your, I call it waffle. You go up to your waffle up here, and then this is where all of your, different Google Suite things will pop up someday. There we go. And then if you actually slide down, you'll see Jamboard right there. So that's what it looks like. So if you click on that, everybody, you have access to it. You don't have to download anything. It will pop up, and this is all my different Jamboards, but yours, if you haven't used it, you won't have anything here. And then what I'm going to do is just press the plus sign. So down at this bottom right corner, if you hit that plus sign, is where you can open a new Jamboard. So once again, it just is a virtual whiteboard. That's pretty much what it is. And I'm just going to go through the different features with you. You'll see that there's really not much to it. Up here, you can zoom, you can change the background, which is really nice. So I just got done doing coordinate planes with my 6th graders. So I was able to use some grid paper. If you ever use the dotted grids, they have that as a background. The straight lines they have as a background. So that's a really nice feature, is that you can easily change the background for your different slides. So that's one of the features. Over here, these are all the different features of, and I'm going to call this the web-based version, because there's different versions. So this is the web-based version, and this is what you will access just like we just did. You go to your waffle, you find Jamboard, and these are the features that you can find. So your normal features, you have a pen, you can keep it thin, you can change it to a marker, a highlighter, a brush just kind of makes it thicker. You can change the color, and you can write just with your mouse right on the screen. Then you can use an eraser to erase it like a normal virtual whiteboard. It has the arrow for you to click things. This is my favorite part. And for those of you color coded, and this is why I love all the elementary teachers, the sticky notes are the best. So if you click this, you can actually pop a sticky note onto your board. You can change you can add different colors, and then what'll happen is a little sticky note will pop up on your Jamboard, and you can move it around, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can rotate it and do all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm going to show you how I use the sticky notes in my lessons, but this is definitely my favorite part of Jamboard. You can insert images, and this is going to be big if you decide to use this for your different lessons. Just because you can't really copy and paste things, you would have to download it as an image, and I'll show you how I have done that. And then this last thing is called a laser. So this is if you're teaching and you just want to point out something real quick or draw a line under it, just to add emphasis, and then it kind of disappears. Now, this is a web version. So this is what you'll get through your little waffle guy. For some reason, the app version of Jamboard has a lot more features. So the app version, if you download it onto a phone or onto an iPad, you get a lot more features, which I think is crazy to me. So what I actually will do is I will pull this up on my desktop and do the waffle thing and get it all set up. And then I will open it up on my phone or I'll steal one of my kids' iPads and I'll work on there. And so I will open up a Jamboard, and what will happen is as I'm marking it on here, it simultaneously will jump on there, and I'll show you what that looks like. Because one of the really cool tools that the app version has, and that would be, accessing it through your phone or through a device, is I took screenshots. So this is what it looks like on my phone. So the one version that you don't have through your waffle, it's called an assistive drawing tool. So I can click on this and it does text recognition and it does shape recognition. So if I'm going in here and I'm like, okay, I really want, to draw a triangle because I want to teach, about the angles of a triangle. So I can go into my app, and I like using a stylus. I hate using my finger. But let's say I want to draw a triangle. I can draw a right triangle. Oh, well, let me show you what it does with shape recognition if I actually had it set up. All right, here we go. So if I drew a triangle, and then okay, so there you go. So see the difference? So the app version, I can do that and it will do a shape recognition, where the web version does not have that. But notice as soon as I did it on my phone, it popped up on here. So as I'm using Jamboard, I'm actually having it open on two things, and it simultaneously will go onto the screen. Same thing if I want to then say, okay, well, let's talk about acute triangles. It automatically recognized the shape. Now, one drawback is it's not transparent, and I haven't figured out how to, jazz up the shape a little bit, but it is a really great starting point. And the same thing with text, because sometimes text can get sloppy when you're using a mouse or even a stylus. It has text recognition on the app, but not on the web version, which is really crazy. So that is definitely one of the things that I like about this, using it on the phone. And what's cool is that it'll pop right up on the screen as you do it. Another thing that the app version has that the web version does not is on this right picture. So once again, this is just a screenshot from my phone, is you can add content from your Google Drive. So you can add content from your Google Drive. So if I'm on my phone or if I'm on my iPad, I can actually download a Google Slides presentation, something like that. And if I'm on my phone, what I can do is then once I download that, and let me pull it up here for you so you could see, this is what it would look like up here, but I can't do much with it. I can only delete it. But on a phone, let me get my clicker here. So like right now on my phone, I'm clicking on it and I'm hitting expand. So now I've just opened up my PowerPoint, and as you can see on the screen, and I'm doing this right on my phone, I'm actually pulling the different slides out from my Google Slide that are now in my Jamboard. So now I can take this, I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, and I can make a lesson out of it on Jamboard. So I know that's the one frustrating thing with Google Slides is you can't write on it and you can't annotate. And I'm going to show you how you can do that on Jamboard, which is really cool. But yeah, unfortunately, and I don't know why they made it that way. It's so like Google is so smart, and then sometimes it's like, come on, guys, like why can the app version do this, but my web version can't? So that's for me. Once again, I'm no tech expert, so this is what I figured out that works best. Is I really just work on both at the same time. So yeah, so that's one of the things. Now, if you can't do that, just FYI, once again, working with images is your go-to. So you can always take a Google slide and you can create an image out of it if you just go to File, Download, and then JPEG. Okay, and that will be a way that you can download the image, and then you can easily put that into your Jamboard by hitting Insert or add image. So that's just another way around it if, it's hard for you to do that. But I know a lot of teachers, especially at the middle school level, use Google Slides for their presentations and their lessons. So that's a nice way to kind of take what you're used to from the classroom and being able to try something different with it. And those are really, the biggest differences between the apps and the web version. So I wanted to definitely show that to you guys to show you what you have access to if you end up using the app. But now what I also want to do is I just want to kind of share with you what I've tried so far and what I've played around with the kids. I've done a couple different things with it, and I've gotten some student feedback. So the first thing is I've used it to help me with my lessons. So like I said, I did coordinate planes with the students. So this was one of the slides that I created this is an image, and I have really been, loving, using my students, their textbook online and a snipping tool, and go to town. I love a snipping tool. So I'll show you how to do that in a little bit too. But yeah, I just got an image of the coordinate plane, and then I added all of these sticky notes. So, these were all really important, terms and vocabulary that they had to learn about when it came to a coordinate plane. And this was part of my lesson. So I have been, recording myself on Loom, and I'll be, using Jamboard as I'm teaching my lesson. And this is also something too, you could create and, maybe move the sticky notes away and have the students then be able to go in and they can edit this file. So they can go in and they can move the sticky notes where they think they belong and then submit it to you for a grade, just like a Google Doc or Google Slides. So that's one capacity that I've been doing. Now, the other thing that I love about Jamboard is that it's so easy to just move things around. So you'll see how, I can layer this over on top of this picture. It can go here. I can tilt it if I want. And it's just super easy. And it's also really easy to just write on it. So what I've been doing to annotate is once again, I'll have this up. So let's say this is the next slide and I want to review and I want to talk about, okay, so we just learned about this. Let's talk about plotting a point. Let's talk about point, +3, -3. So I will annotate on using my stylus on either my phone or an iPad. Once again, just because that's what I have found to be easier. So you find what works for you. You can use your finger. You can, use whatever works for you, especially if you don't have a touch screen. But what I'll do is during my lesson is I'll just sit here and I'll get my pen ready and I'll talk to the kids about, okay, so we start at the origin, which is right here. And as I'm writing on the screen, it will automatically pop up on there so they can see. And then I'll sit here and I'll actually annotate and write on the picture. And it's super, super easy. I don't have to worry about any kind of formatting. It will automatically write on there and I can show them those visuals right on the Jamboard, which is really nice. And then once I'm done my lesson, I can just share this with them as a file that they could just view whenever they want, which is also another cool feature. So that's one way that I've used it, is as part of my lessons and as part of me teaching the skill. Another thing I tried, which the kids really enjoyed, and I think a lot of you guys might like, if it kind of reminds me of when you put up the chart paper and give every kid a Post-it, and they really quick will come up and put their Post-it up. It's a really quick formative assessment, and it just gives you a quick picture of if they're understanding or not. And so that's where you would create one Jamboard and you would share it with all of your students for them to edit. So this is an example of when we were done our integer unit. I just asked, what was your favorite thing you learned about integers? And all the students had access to this one Jamboard. So they each were able to put in their own Post-it. And you can see just by looking at this kind of how they answered the question. Some of them circled, showing that they agreed. Some of them just made their own Post-it that said same. Some of them wrote their names, some of them didn't. And the one and I think this is the biggest drawback, especially if you're middle school or high school. The biggest drawback with this is you have no idea. If they don't put their name, you have no idea whose who's writing it. So even if I click on this Post-it, there's no way I can find out who added that, which drives me bonkers. I mean, luckily, the worst thing I got was that someone likes cheese, but he at least claimed himself and put his name. So, you know, if you're worried about kids writing things inappropriate, you can always require them to put their name, or if it's not, they delete it. So you have that capability to edit it. But that's the biggest things that I've noticed is that, you know, for example, when I put this up, I had a second question here. What questions do you still have about integers, which was fine. But then some kid decided to do this, which is fine, doesn't really bother me, but who did it? I have no idea. So that's the one of the downfalls is that you don't know who's editing what onto it. But other than that, I thought this was great. The kids really enjoyed doing this. They liked seeing everybody's answers. And yeah, it's just like what you do in the classroom with the sticky notes. So it's a great, quick, formative assessment. I did PD at 11 this morning, and one of the teachers said that she tried this with her small group today, and she said it worked out great. So this would just be making the one Jamboard and then sharing it on Google Classroom and allowing students to edit the file. Which I'll review with you guys how to do that at the end. But yeah, so this was really cool. Kids seem to like that. And what else did I do? Oh, so I did a check-in with the students. So another formative assessment, me just checking in with them after we did coordinate planes. And this was a file that I was able to put on Google Classroom where each student had a copy of the file. So some of you teachers have done that before. And so that way every student got their own and they were able to edit this. So this was a really great way for me to see, do they understand how to plot their points? So this is what they would get. And then they would have to take their Post-it and they would have to plot it where it belonged on the coordinate plane. And then once they were done answering it, they would submit it. And it was a really great formative assessment for me. It was super quick, super easy. I was able to give them feedback right away, not just on Google Classroom, but on Jamboard, and they were able to see it. So yeah, so I really liked doing that as well as a check-in for the students. And those are pretty much all that I've tried with Jamboard. So what I wanted to do now is really show you kind of start to finish how to go about doing something like this. So I kind of just showed you everything that I've already made. So I wanted to show you start to finish how I would go about doing this in the future. So next week, my students are going to be learning how to find the area of a trapezoid. So I want to make a Jamboard for that. So I'm going to go, this is the one that we just opened that we didn't really do anything with. Now I want to add an image. So I want to find a trapezoid. Now, if I were in the classroom, what we would do is we would take trapezoids like this and we would deconstruct them and, you know, just play around with them, color them, use highlighters, all that kind of fun stuff, which, you know, we're not in the classroom now. So I have to figure out a way to make this work. So I want a JPEG. I want an image of this. And this is where my best buddy, the snipping tool, is going to come in. Someone asked in the last session, how do you find the snipping tool? I have no idea. I just search for it and it pops up. So if you don't use a snipping tool, look for it because it's amazing. I love it. I use it all the time because you can take anything and make a JPEG out of it. So I'm going to click New and just hover over this. And what it will now do is turn it into a picture. So if I hit File, Save As, it will save it. You can save it into your Google Drive. Now that I'm home and on a desktop, I'm old school and I save it right into a file. But if I put trapezoid, I mean, there's one already there, but you'll see that it defaults to saving it as a JPEG, which is perfect because that's what you want. Yeah, sure, let's replace it. It's the same thing. All right, so let me go back to my Jamboard. So now I want to insert that. So you would go to Insert Picture or Add Image. And it's going to take forever. Here we go. Select from your device. So once again, you could have it in your Google Drive. Where did my new friend go? There it is. All right. So then I'm going to insert trapezoid, and there he is. And this is great because you can move him around. You can make it bigger, smaller. You can turn him around, which was helpful when we were doing parallelograms. So if you wanted to look at him just, maybe to show the students that your base doesn't have to be on the bottom, things like that. But it's very user-friendly. Once you put that picture in there, it's super user-friendly. And I can now start my lesson. So what I would do is I would now kind of get set up either with my phone or an iPad. So that way I can get started with annotating and teaching what's going on. So let me see if this is going to pop up now. So it should kind of simultaneously work. So all of a sudden I just refresh the app and my slide is here. So what I'm going to do is teach the students how to find the area of a trapezoid. This is where I also love those sticky notes, because the area of a trapezoid is 3 steps, and that sometimes overwhelms the students. And really in a Google slide, it would just be 3 bullets. Okay, but this is so nice because now you can color code it, which I love. And I know a lot of kids like that too. I have a lot of kids that have different colored highlighters and things. So I might add my sticky notes and say, okay, well, step 1 would be add the 2 bases together. Okay, so now I have that color coded. And what I can now do is I can actually show them what that looks like. So I can grab my stylus, I can come over here, grab a highlighter and show them that your 2 bases, let me make it a little thicker here. So your 2 bases are the 2 parallel lines. And as I'm writing on this, it's automatically popping up on there, which I love. And you could do this right from your phone. You could be doing this and it could pop up right on there. And so, I would help them kind of visualize how this would be 3, and then this would be 5. And I just love the fact that I can sit here and just write directly on the image, and then I can pop over here and say, all right, let's add a sticky note to show what that looks like. That's not a sticky note. So then I can add a sticky note to show that I'm going to follow what step 1 says, and that adding those 2 bases together is going to be 8. And then what I would do is now show the second step, but use a different color and keep it color coded. So, God, I keep hitting that one. Sorry, guys. So let's pick blue. I love this one, it's my favorite one. And then I want to teach them step 2. So step 2 would be to multiply the sum by the height. Let's see if I can actually type this out. All right, here we go. It's been a long day. All right, so step 2, now it's color coded. So now this is that second step. And then once again, I can now go back over to my lovely little trapezoid guy here, and I can highlight for them what the height of that trapezoid would be. We can talk about how that equals 4, and then go back and continue with using the sticky notes to help illustrate how to solve the problem. So, once again, I can show how I would take 8 times 4, which equals 32. And really color code it using these sticky notes, which is just my favorite thing. And then you can do a third for step 3 and so on. I'm not going to go through this, but just to show you guys that, how much I love using the sticky notes for that type of reason too. When you're teaching different steps and different things, you can use the sticky notes for that as well, which I think is awesome. This could also be something that you can assign to a student. You can put a picture of a trapezoid on there and I'd say, okay, use 3 different sticky notes to show me each step on how to find the area of a trapezoid. And that could be a great little check-in. And that's what I would do. So, talking about, assigning Jamboards, if you go into your Google Classroom and you go to create an assignment, you can add it just like any Google slide or Google Doc. If you hit add and go to your Google Drive, all your Jamboards are right in there. So right on recent, you'll see the one that I just did is right there. I hit add and it adds just like a Google Doc or a Google slide, so they can view. So if this was a lesson that I just did, I can just send this to them to have them view. Kind of like the integer wrap up, if you want to send all your students one Jamboard and they can add their little sticky notes or comments, you can have it where they can edit the file. Or if you want each student to have their own Jamboard to jazz up and submit to you, you can make a copy for each student. So it adds just like any other Google Google Doc or Google Slides, anything like that, which is really cool. The kids don't have to download anything. It's already part of their G Suites, which is nice. And the kids really seem to like it. A lot of the kids said that they liked using it. I even had one student tell me that she was making her own Jamboards, and she was like making her to-do list, which I was like, that's a really great idea, you know, using those Post-its for a to-do list. And she was doing that and she loved it. So that was really cool. So that's pretty much what I've done so far with Jamboard. I don't know much. I'm going to actually stop presenting my screen here so I can answer any questions that you guys have. But yeah, that's what I've learned so far. I really like it. There are some drawbacks, like I was telling you guys, but it is really cool, and the sticky notes are the best. The colors are awesome, and the kids, I've gotten great feedback from the kids too, so which is important. So yeah, does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Mrs. Wenzel. What about like changing the background to a slide that you created? Like you just would do like a screenshot, I guess, and you can put that on the Jamboard, and then you can do sticky things like that.
Yeah,
like,
and that's what I love about Jamboard is you don't have to worry about any kind of formatting. So you could, if you wanted to use a Google slide, you could put that as your background by saving it as an image. And then you can put sticky notes right on top of it. You can annotate right on top of that. And it's super, super easy to do. You don't have to worry about, like, that's what I hate about using some of the Google things is like, you can't go directly on top of something. You have to worry about all that. But it's super easy to do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions?
Sorry, trying to get my microphone going. So you can load an image that you already have as background? If it just has to be somewhere in your Google world?
Yep, it just has to be saved somewhere that you can add it. Whether it's in your Google Drive or like I was showing you, I've kind of reverted back to old school and saving it to my computer. But once you download an image into the Jamboard, you can size it so it's the entire size of the whiteboard. And then you can write directly on it. You can add sticky notes right on top of it. It's great.
Thank you.
And I was just going to ask, I just used it just as a plain whiteboard once. Is there any, like, does the app go with any kind of phone? Do the phones automatically just link up to your, I have a Mac at home, but I have an Android. Would that still work together? Like,
I don't see why not. I mean, I have an Apple iPhone and my desktop is a Lenovo, and as long as you're, and that's the other thing, as long you have to be signed into your school Gmail. So I did have someone before try to do it, and she was in a different Gmail account. It won't sync if you're in a different account, but as long as you're in your school account on your phone or device, and you're in your school account on the computer, it should simultaneously sync no matter what, as long as you're in that Google, like you said, Google world.
Yeah, the other thing I was looking for on Amazon was something to, and because I have a Mac, it's a little bit different, but I was looking for something like a stylus to write on my computer, just because I don't have an iPhone, I don't have a stylus or an iPad, because it just looks easier. Trying to actually use Jamboard and use your mouse is kind of hard to write numbers and things like that, because I just was trying to use it as a whiteboard, along with PowerPoint or my slides. So, but it is fun to play with. I learned so much more today. Thank you.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Well, that's what, I mean, that was the goal for today, is just really just to show you what I've done as a teacher and what I've learned the past couple weeks from just playing around with it. And I've been bothering John Mason all the time because he did the training for me before. And that's just what I wanted to share, what I've learned. But yeah, I bought my stylus after I learned about Jamboard, and I tried it for a couple days, and my mouse drove me bonkers. I was like, oh man, I need to make this purchase. So it works so much better on my phone. So I'll just sit here on my phone and do it, but then it'll pop right up on the screen. And that's been working out for me. Yeah. Because just using a mouse is a pain. That's why a lot of times with my students, I'll require them to do a sticky note instead of having them write, because as you saw in the one, like some of like if I'm having a hard time annotating, they're definitely going to have a hard time using their mouse or using their finger, things like that. So most of the time I'll just use the sticky notes as their way of, you know, of answering things. Now I do have to wrap it up because it's 2:30, but real quick, if any of you guys have a minute, I have this Jamboard that I made for all of us to share together if you guys wanted to kind of jump on and play around. So let me just get that, and I'm going to share it in the comments. Just getting some PD feedback. I do have a survey that I'll email you guys, but if you guys wanted to just hop on and just play for a minute, this is a link that you can jump on. So this is a Jamboard that is the one Jamboard where we all can edit. You'll see a couple sticky notes on there from the last PD session. Just if you have some time, because I know that, you know, I truly appreciate you all coming here, especially after the official 2 o'clock mark, and spending 30 minutes with me. So, so thank you so much, and feel free to go play on the link. And if not, you guys are more than welcome to head out, or if you want to stick around and ask questions, I'll be around for a little while.